Hello, everybody. Welcome to ICC's Game of the Week with your host, as always, Joel Benjamin. The German Bundesliga has the biggest reputation, but the French Top 12 Club Championship also has its share of big-name players. Anish Giri's Bischwiller easily took first ahead of Clichy, with Wesley So on top board. So had to endure a rating hiccup in the last round when he fell at the hands of veteran Ukrainian grandmaster Sergey Fedorchuk. Fedorchuk's provocative opening play drew an appropriately aggressive response, but while attempting to prosecute his advantage, So surprisingly saw his position completely collapse. All right, let's get to it. Wesley So playing white. This was his only loss of the event, I believe. So we have in English, and with C4, I recommend for players, a lot of players, when they see C4, they kind of try to think about just playing a D4 opening, getting into D4 opening. But I really like this move E5 because there are many different paths that black can go on that are very independent of E4 or D4 openings. And they could lead to very interesting play. And I think that it's really a good idea for a lot of players to take this kind of thing into their repertoire. Now, Fedorchuk plays a way that is a little bit unorthodox. So far, so good. But now he plays bishop c5. And although the system with bishop c5 is quite common when white has already committed to g3, it's kind of unusual to do it here because it's really walking into the teeth of e3 and d4. Now, against g3, we saw Hikaru Nakamura employ a rather unorthodox setup against the English with bishop c5 and looked a bit crazy for a while, but it ended up working out extremely well, and he was able to beat Levon Aronian in Norway. Now, this move, bishop c5, well, first of all, it allows white to play knight takes e5, a form of the fork trick. And I guess the critical answer, of course, if knight takes knight d4, and this seems to be good for white, the critical question is bishop f2, as it often is with the fork trick. Now the d4 pawn is attacked, so white might consider e4. And we could see queen f6 check. And now, just like in the variations with the fork trick in the Gioco Piano, you have to be a little bit careful with your king. So if you go king g1, knight g4, suddenly black is actually winning because of the double threat of queen f2 and queen d4. White just can't cover the diagonal. But white instead could go back king e1, getting ready to make a big center, and then c5 is perhaps the indicated move to keep the knight rooted to e5, yet gives up a knight d5. White has that square, but black queen will be able to retreat. And so it's a bit of a double-edged position. Do remember that white is not going to be able to castle. He's going to have to take care of that by hand. Now, one other variation here, white could certainly try d4, just sacrificing a pawn. If knight takes c4, e4, big center and a lot of tempi and the bishop pair. People sacrifice pawns for a lot less these days. But also possible to play queen f6 check, king e1, knight g4. And that looks a little scary coming in here. But white could play queen d3, a little 19th century style. And even though the king can be driven around, white will eventually start to use that big center. And note that knight f2 is not an option because of queen e3 check. Okay, so these are all very interesting possibilities, fun to talk about. But if you're Wesley So, it's very unlikely that you're going to go for that continuation because you probably haven't prepared for this move bishop c5, and obviously Fedorchuk has. So it makes a lot more sense to play e3. Now that's not the move that he played. If e3, the games usually go d6, and then if